Here we go.
Welcome in, everybody, to probably the fanciest update show you'll ever see. I'm Aggro here. You're going to be your host for this update. And you may have seen some of the teasers going around. We are revealing Persephone today, the queen of the underworld. And she wanted to throw a party, and it's cocktail attire. So we're all looking real fancy out here on the cast, but you'll see it in just a little bit. It's not only Persephone today, by the way, either. Lots of balance changes, a couple update notes, of course. And the tier 5 skin for Kukulkan revealed today as well, so I'm glad you tuned in because you're going to miss a big one if you're missing it. Let's take a look at some of these skin card previews, though, before we get into some of those balance notes. We'll start with Star Tyrant Ares. Looking super sweet there. That is a sweet card art. Pillow Fight Nike.
It's good card art.
Nike used to feel like she was fighting with a pillow, but maybe not so much anymore. Infinite Ruler Oleron. Oleron's first skin coming to the Battlegrounds. And then the one that you guys are all excited about, of course, Winds of Change Kukulkan. You've seen this card art before, but today's the first chance you'll get to see it in-game. We've also got Spirit Guide Artio, which I believe was teased on Twitter, which looks great. Gizmo Bologna.
Artio skin, interesting.
Cool new look for Bologna. Calavera Scotty. Hopefully I said that right, because I'm not sure that I did. And then Spooky Nightmares Cupid and Spooky Dreams Kumbhakarna. Look at that dynamic duo there in the exact same card art. That's a lot of fun. We'll get to see more of those in-game and all that kind of stuff a little bit later on. But first, we've got to get it over to the balance section today. It's Pon and it's F.
I like the little bit sillier skins.
I'm not Hindu man, but it's me, F. And we're going to be talking about balance. I got a thick book here, so we're going to be talking about, of course, Hindu, Pon is going to be sitting next to us. And fancy, yes, this is kind of what I show up in every day for the cast, but you're looking a little different.
This is my one nice piece of clothing, my wedding suit.
Pon, you're always so quiet.
When they asked to wear nice things,
Pon is so quiet, but
you want to talk about 0 to 100. There's no in between, just chilling and black tie for Pon. So let's get into it. One of my favorite things about the mid-season patch was how drastic some of our changes were. We've kind of talked about when we go from season to season and mid-season that we want to see some big changes. And one of the biggest things, which design is a team, but I think you were championing a lot, were those Arthurian items.
Yes.
The 4-1 after you ultimate. Something crazy happens.
You want some, Pon?
Some of them were pretty crazy, and some of them not so much. So we kind of looked at all of them. Erendite. A is for Apple, A is for Erendite. That's where we're going to start off with. This one was one of the, let's say, I don't even want to say underwhelming, but we brought it up a little bit. The physical power will go up from 55 to 65 here.
Yeah, so we knew all these effects for all these items was going to be really potent.
I'm in the way.
Erendite's ability to chase someone
They
down.
buffed Erendite. 65 power.
Double cast, but making sure their base stats feel justified for the amount of power they also bring to the table. And
Power.
Erendite just didn't bring enough to the table in terms of stats.
I forgot my tie.
Getting a 10 power upgrade.
Yeah, Erendite, some of them, everybody feels like they can buy a
Erendite was one of the weaker ones, so that's fine.
Erendite, I have definitely seen people kind of glance over it. So this hopefully brings it back into some of that same level of stuff. Fail Not, again, like I said, this one has been seen all over the place. Decreased crit chance from 25% to 20, so one item won't have 25 crit on it all by itself. And there was also an issue where we fixed the buff, kind of not applying or applying.
Yeah, so this is a kind of a two-way nerf. One is just the base stats. 25% crit is really efficient. 20% is this where you get the territory of needing other crit items to really support it as much. And so this should be a nice
Fail Not. If that's it, Fail Not is still broken.
And the second fix is it was applying its debuff to non-god targets. It's supposed to be god only, and so
honestly, the cooldown is what really puts it over the edge. So if they're not touching the cooldown,
one's a bug fix, one's a more direct nerf.
That one always works out. Now, Pridwin, this item was
getting nerfed
you
too.
Just buy it. It's good. It's going to get you halfway to your CDR cap, and the prots are certainly nice and effective as well. We're going to keep the CDR where it is. I think that's important, and I'll let you expand on that.
Touching
but the
CDRs.
magic prots have been brought down 10, both magical and physical, so it went to 30 prots overall.
30 prots.
But again, talk about that decision to leave the CDR where it is.
Yeah, so Pridwin is really there for the support to want to get CDR into their build. The Guardians
so 20 protection
want to get it in there, as well as the amount of protections it provides needs to be associated with its cost so that it's cheap to build, because if it's too expensive, it's out of the support's ability to buy in a lot of cases. So rather than increasing the cost,
it's still a very good item. Once again, it's a very good item because of the cooldown.
This brings the stat
obviously that's a nerf, but it's still going to be very strong.
It makes it more comparable to things like Breastplate of Valor for CDR, right? That gives 65 prots. This gives 60
that's a more
overall,
significant nerf than Fail Not got,
much healthier.
Also, just last note on Pridwin, you know, everybody was saying it's just fun to play support with 20% CDR, so we didn't want to take that away. Again, the idea here was create some fun items. I think we did that, but this is just going to shape it up a little bit more.
And you'll also note there is no Mirrodin here.
Yes.
So Mirrodin, I think, was the one going in that everyone was like, oh, that passive is crazy,
I
right?
think they should have buffed
And we also knew that
really
it was very expensive. Its stats were definitely lower than the other Arthurian items.
Sure.
And so we're just going to continue to watch the item. We don't want to overbuff. Like, I think most people have realized now that it's very much more situational, especially because of the stats it has. We're going to look at it more as people figure out different builds and different places it can be before deciding if we need to buff or nerf it.
I'm also a big fan of player discovery. I think
they're gonna end up buffing
realize
it.
some of the ins and outs of that item.
Yep.
Mirrodin will get stronger
It'll get buffed
without
in
us
the next
touching
patch.
it. I promise. Dynasty Plate Helm. This is one that I'm very
Is it gonna
happy
get
about. And I think a lot of
nerfed?
hunters
Yeah.
will be happy about carries. Dynasty Plate Helm has been brought down a peg. So you're going to lose some of the magical power. 55 brought down to 50. And then you're going to lose some of that physical protection as well. 35 to 30. So it's still going to do what it is intended to do.
nerf.
Just bring it down a peg.
It's a good
Yeah,
nerf.
it's very efficient in regards to making it so that you can box other hunters and ADCs, or maybe even the soul lane if you want to get a little bit of armor. And it was just too effective at doing that. It limited the ability for.
That was a
counterplay
very
to exist.
specific
And
item,
so we're
like
just lowering the power
Oleron,
with
Kronos
protection.
building
There's more
it
opportunity now
against
for,
opposing
it's a
ADCs.
bit less efficient in what you're trying to get.
It's a
out of
pretty specific situation.
This
but
next change,
was-
there's
it was-
a lot of
it
changes
was very
under this
good in the
umbrella, and I think it's
situation
really
it was built.
important. If you've been watching your favorite streamers at all,
So.
you've seen the Bumbas mass kind of meta. Everything gotta go fast. Smite
Smurf
seems like
movement
F1
speed.
sometimes.
Yes.
So we've made a
Our
sweeping
literal last
change here
build.
to movement
The last
speed
build
in
that we
general
just did.
on a lot of the items. Before we go into the details, I'll give you the platform to just kind of mention it.
Yeah, so movement speed is one of those stats that's like really effective. If you want to talk about like games going 25, 30 minutes long, just being able to move around the map faster, cutting a second off here, a second off there over the course of a whole game is a big deal. And it also means that if there's too much speed in the game becomes too evasive. People don't feel like they can accurately hit targets. It just becomes a kind of race to see who can go fastest. And so we want to make sure that we're not heading towards that territory. We're going to look at movement speed holistically across all the items that we've added it to, and then we're going to take it away in some places and bring other stats in to help those items so it's not just a loss. And then for classes that do need that movement speed, tone it down a little bit so it isn't as much as you were getting before.
So with that in mind, we'll start off at the top. Pretty big things, some pretty big rings right here. Emerald Ring, Enchanted Ring, Demonic Grip are all seeing some changes. Emerald Ring starting off at the top. The magical power increased from 20 to 25, so we are buffing that because we're taking away the 3% movement speed, and that's going to be the rank 1 of the rings. Rank 2 is the Enchanted Ring. Again, the reduced cost, so it gets a buff from 1,200 to 1,100, but remove the 5% movement speed. So there ain't no movement speed on that ring either. And then we get to the tier 3.
So dirty, baby.
Real items.
So good.
Demonic Grip here. Again, no movement speed whatsoever on the Demonic Grip, but the magical power getting increased from 65 to 75.
And right,
those are
here is kind
big
of
nerfs.
The direction we're going with this is
10 power?
Remove movement speed from these items
for
where it's just
7% movement speed is a
difficult to
bad
deal with.
trade.
It also makes them makes them very powerful without necessarily
That is a
feeling that power.
nerf.
And then moving that into things that will help that item. So Demonic Grip losing the movement speed is a big deal, but it is a very good stat efficient item in regards to getting basic attack damage.
That's a bad deal.
We're just going to highlight that aspect a bit more while taking away the movement speed.
We did the same thing to the other rings as well. Demo Grip is going to be sort of your executioner, if you will. Take away the movement speed, boost the power. Telkine's ring here, take away the movement speed. That's 10%. And so to supplement that, the attack speed has been increased from 20 to 25%. As I said, the 10% movement speed has been removed from that. And then the third
this
point,
could be the
we're gonna
best trade
increase
deal in the
passive,
history of trade deals.
Increased damage,
Maybe
magic power scaling
ever.
from 10 to 15. So again, no movement speed, but more attack speed and more scaling on that passive. 10 to 15 is
yeah, no, it's focusing on the
goodness.
strengths item, which is to augment your basic attack damage. We want to make sure that's strong.
My Lord, dude.
Moving in that direction will help it when you remove the movement speed, because again, it is one of those things that does really impact the
Peace
game
out,
long
zooms.
term.
Okay.
So we want to make
I
sure
love
we
that they're
appropriately
touching all this.
compensate the
First
item
of all,
for
they
the
need to
power
nerf
that we
physical
already
items. So I want to make sure we're not just nerfing
and
magical
Shaman's
characters
Ring
without
and the
physicals.
evolved version as well, also getting the same treatment.
This'll be it.
Does two things right now, and you're removing the movement speed, so you got to go up. Increase the cost from 2,400 to 2,500. Now that is a nerf, but because of how much everything else has changed, the increased magical power from 100 to 110.
Who cares?
It's a big deal. Not a lot of items are above 100 power.
not
We're
a big
talking
deal.
do more up to hoodie territory.
It's literally not a big deal, but it's
Added
fine.
10% CDR.
That's a big deal.
And then, of course, removed the 10% movement speed. And that movement speed allows us to go ahead and move on to the final point here. Which
everything
is
in the game has cooldown on it now.
The mark has increased from 5 to 10. So the passive is going to be the same, but it lasts a little bit longer. But I love the decision here to increase the power and the CDR.
Yeah, so again,
Shaman's Ring just became...
This item stands out on its own, and so we wanted to highlight the passive.
I consider that a buff for Shaman's Ring. I consider that a buff,
further augments that. The longer duration means that you don't have to reapply it as much.
On the whole, that's
a
nice buff.
Longer burst windows rather than multiple rapid fire abilities, you can now use this item more effectively. And we generally felt that by bringing all these stats to help the item get its kind of own identity, we did have to increase the cost. It just became
very good for like
movement speed just a little bit.
And so what's fun about these items, like I said, they have all done two things. They've made you faster and done one of these things.
It should be noted, if they're going to nerf all of this stuff, they do need to actually
nerf the thing that
it
does a little bit better.
You can't
I'm noticing that's the last ring.
They don't get played anyway.
We didn't touch the hasted ring whatsoever.
Outside of like SPL.
Yeah, so hasted ring, that's its kind of whole focus. It's really there to help you run down opponents. That haste effect is really strong. We've done adjustments to it very recently to make sure that its power is more appropriate.
Yeah, it makes sense that the item called Hastened Ring would have movement.
So just to reiterate, the rank 1 and the rank 2 rings won't have movement speed because the other 3 don't. But Hastened Ring will still have it because it that's what it's supposed to do. We didn't have to -1 to increase the other, so just leave it alone. That's the mage situation. Now we look towards the katana tree, which also got some adjustments. Katana, level 1, the movement speed from 5% to 3%, and then 1,000-fold blade, that's level 2. That goes down from 8% to 5%. So again, like Pon said at the beginning, we're not removing it from the assassins. They theoretically need it more, a little bit more than the mages. But we are bringing them down a little bit, which I think is important for the overall health of the game. Ranks 1 and 2, you get it. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Masamune, this is the blue sword. This is the one that I like to see. The increased health, this makes a lot of sense. It's from 100 to 150, and then after that, they're going to decrease the movement speed from 10% to 7%.
So it still gives movement
with the mage items. Bring it down a little bit, but increase what it does.
Yep, Masamune is the kind of engage bruiser frontline item. You want to be in the middle of a whole bunch of opponents. Just make it a little bit better at doing that. And you'll see here as we shift movement speed down rather than remove it, the buffs that we're going to bring to items to compensate either won't necessarily be there or it'll be more
Masamune doesn't really get bought anyway.
When we look towards the green sword, the stone cutting sword, this one gets a nerf. Decreased movement speed from 10% to 7%. But I think you were kind of foreshadowing with what you just said, because that's the only change to this item. No buff to compensate.
We feel like this item for the characters that use it effectively is just really good.
So just, I mean, to be fair, stone cutting sword's a good item.
If you can get on targets to get a few hits, it's not only making you
tankier,
but in a lot of cases it's even being more damage efficient than something like Executioner, just because of the amount of flat pen it's providing. And so we felt this item could just actually take the movement speed nerf, and we didn't need to necessarily adjust it. A lot of the characters that are using it well are also some of the most winning gods in the game right now. So we are going to watch how these changes kind of affect those gods, but for now we're just doing the movement speed reduction.
And the last item here as far as movement speed, and I love, we have some dev notes here, and I'm going to read the first sentence because I love it. Meme or not, this item provides a lot of movement speed for seemingly high risk. It's Bumba's Mask. They're going to increase damage taken by 10%, all the way up to 15%, and then decrease the damage dealt from 10% all the way up to 15%.
Wow.
Yeah, if you want to go fast, you can go fast, but you're not going to hit as hard, and you're going to take some more damage for it.
That's a significant nerf to Morgan.
High risk. The risk was not high enough.
And the Baron build that we literally just
ran. You'll start to begin feeling, but you won't necessarily notice it, and just the increased evasiveness is so good, as well as the CDR. So by making those more pronounced, you're going to feel that downside more.
So the movement speed has been touched for sure.
Literally going to just slap Morgan harder than
won't be
anybody
running
else.
around rampant, and even the assassins will be a little bit slower. But don't cry over spilt milk. You will have a little bit of movement speed in the jungle or wherever you're playing your assassins. So good stuff there. Moving on from items into the god world, we're going to start.
So those are the only item changes.
And somewhere AJ is cheering because Anubis is getting a change here. The base HP increase 350 to 380, and the increase base HP per level also from 66 to 70. And I want to, we have another change here to Anubis, but I want to touch on base changes like that, because sometimes sitting at home, it's hard to grasp what base HP and HP per level quite mean. How do you kind of summarize this for players at home?
It's again one of those things that over the course of the game, having extra health does things not only in just like, oh, I got away with 10 HP where I wouldn't have the past before. But also, it changes the way your opponents play around you when they look at you and go, if I engage right now, I might not be able to get this kill. That changes their decision making. It lets
pretty
you make
relevant on
different
Gooby because of the way that lifesteal keeps you alive.
Things,
having a little bit more
HP
will pair really well
survive
with
or
his
be able to get more lifesteal, get your passive going. It's just a big deal for him.
You've got a little bit more HP to work with to try to lifesteal back up.
Level and like attack speed, a base level. For me, that's what it is to have a feels change. You might not understand the point per level, but you'll know how.
Yeah, they didn't nerf any other physical items like.
And then the other change is going directly where you were talking about getting your abilities out there. Grasping Hands is getting some nice love here. Decrease the mana cost from 70 all the way up to 90. We're going to change that from 60 up to 80. So you're going to spend less mana on that 3. And then, of course, decreased cooldown as well. It used to start at 15 seconds and go down to 11. Now we're going to start at 14 down to 10. I mean, 1 second really makes a difference sometimes, huh?
Yeah, it's not only safer wave clear, but better zoning opportunities if you can't go forward and actually Plague of Locust Breath an opponent because they're going to just turn on you and kill you. You have access to this slow area, zone denial, and if you can trap them in at pretty significant damage more often.
Quality of
Fun
life
changes there for Anubis. Maybe we'll see some more of him. Arachne is going to be next, and hopefully we see less of her in my specific rank games. Ban her if you're playing with me. She's very, very powerful. And because of that, she's been brought down a peg. Venomous Bite, that's going to be the lifesteal, the number 1. That's healing per tick has been brought down. It used to start at 10 to 50 and then get 10% scaling. Now it's going to go from 8 to 40 with only 8%
pretty significant
scaling.
nerf.
That's a big, big nerf. Yeah. And the web change is going to be important as well. 25% is how much it used to be slowed by the spider web. Now it's going to go down to 15.
That's another significant
Seems drastic.
Nerf.
Because it is, but she also gets movement speed on that web, so
it's a pretty drastic nerf.
Here is Arachne is strong. Every metric shows that. We've been talking about it for months now, but we've actually seen now ban rates for the character also rising to the point where she's on the top of the ban list too. So this is something that why I think a lot of players would initially go, it's kind of weird to see Arachne get a nerf. Players who are playing the game and banning in ranked are banning Arachne because she is a significant threat. We've seen her also come into pro games every so often, so she's definitely there. She's definitely potent enough to deserve a nerf.
She's
we're
very
specifically here the things that make her
very
difficult to ever box against. If she ever gets on you, you know that you're likely dead. We want to give you a bit more agency to be able to fight back.
Kind of has the epitome kit of what's good in ranked, like outclaim
and the base damage nerf is
this
there.
Like
but we also
carry by yourself. Don't
she
need to play a team
40%
game.
movement speed on that web.
Can't
so
lose
really,
a
the speed differential
1v1.
was 65%. We're reducing it to 55%. So she's still going to chase you. She's still going to be able to run you down, but just that extra breathing room that you might be able to get after you leap, or breathing room for her to like not get directly on you while you're running back to your tower. Those things are going to help you escape Arachne a bit more effectively.
I think the important point is that the identity of the character, you still don't want to fight the bug, but now you have a chance at all. You're saying there's a chance. And also kind of a shout out to you guys, didn't dumb down the character. You can still do the weird blue buff clear if you start your spider, so there's still some intricacy there for the hardcore Arachne fans. Cool change. Chiron, the horseman. He hasn't been seen much play, so we're going to see his base stats increase as well, just like Anubis. The base attack speed going from 1.1 1.4, which again is a large jump in base. And the masterful shot is going to be a big change. 25% is where it used to slow. Now it's going to start there, but go all the way up to 35% once you rank it up.
I love me some Chiron.
I don't have to tell you that 10% more slow is actually
I love me some Chiron.
For hunters, especially
the moose
like Chiron,
is loose
over the course of Smite's lifetime that they need some utility to really
I can't believe they're buffing hunters though. I know Chiron's not getting played, but I actually can't believe they're buffing hunters.
Move him closer to what those hard carries can do without like going too far into their role. And also additional utility is going to help him land some shots when he can. Just give him his team more utility. Really highlight the ability part of him, where we give him some base love so that he can
call
compete
me
in the late game
daddy.
And not be completely overshadowed.
Chiron ability based. The other side of the coin here, we've got the mage that's attack speed based. Chronos. Let's go. That's what we're going to change. Not the voice line, but we're going to bring Accelerate down just a little bit. His initial movement speed starts at 25.
Chronos just got movement speed slapped all over the board. All of his items,
change, but again, this character has been kind of everywhere.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we watched Chronos after we did all the item changes recently. We expected it to hit him more than others because he was building those items.
He is really slowing down.
Much, which went to more core problem that he has too much ability in the laning phase.
No more race
specifically, we felt his accelerate, just like how we talked about movement speed to all these items. When you have that level of movement speed, the ability to out-rotate people, the ability to juke their incoming shots really effectively, becoming too evasive, can just really boost your ability to do the things. And so we are reducing the movement speed here to give players more opportunity to fight against Kronos, less escapability, less boxing potential overall. This will have a ripple impact across his whole game.
All of his items lost movement speed, and he's losing movement speed on the kit. That was one decision conversation, right?
Yeah, and he's really strong too, which is this is why we discussed not doing further nerfs to him, right? This is the one nerf we wanted to do to him because while we could go further with this, he is getting those
one relevant
changes,
mage
and those are targeting
is finally getting nerfed. Actually, that's not true. Isis is also very
strong
relevant
points
right
that
now.
really affect him. So
well, and Morrigan, but she also got nerfed.
Still keep an eye
all
on
the
him
relevant
because
mages have
you
been
might
getting
said
nerfed
he
so
didn't
far.
move much. You meant on the charts. He moved all over the map, so we're going to make sure that doesn't happen as much. Hera, a character that was fun when she came out, but kind of got really dropped down, and so she's going to get some love here. The polymorph damage is going to increase. It started at 60 and would rank up all the way up to 240. Now that's getting some love, starting at 80 and going to 240. So specifically, the early game is getting changed here for Hera.
I wonder if that helps you clear the way
really strong. Argus did a lot of damage.
I
we did some adjustments there to make sure that players felt like they could fight against Argus effectively and her burst a bit more manageable. And then over that, we now see that she's in a state when she starts the game. Her early capability of trading with people and being effective is just not consistent. You either have a really good matchup where you can go forward or you don't.
I mean, Hera's got a great late game, but
more base damage, especially in
we
the early
talked
game,
about
is
it.
just going to help that early game be more consistent. She's going
all
to
of our
get
games
online
end
more
within
consistently, and when she's
20
online,
minutes,
Argus is a pretty big threat.
Yeah, you can
she never makes
engage
it
from ranged and knock a bunch of players up. My polymorph can do a little bit less damage than the early game, a little bit less. So. One of my favorite mages right now, and absolutely the top of the chart, is going to be Isis.
Yeah, she's getting
Isis has gotten a change. She's still pretty strong. But we are going to make the change to the ultimate here. So the mitigation's 25%. We jumped over the 20% mark, and that's where we're going to peel it back to.
Yeah, so it was 15 scaling to 20 before. We went straight to 25. We're finding the middle ground there. And why this might look like a not enough of a change for Isis.
Well, that's all they're
when
changing?
She comes into play, players have to get a bit of time adjusting to her being more.
If that's all
they're
changing. She's
so
still
rather than
the best.
Just bringing out all the nerfs right at once, we want to make this targeted change, which we do think was giving her too much survivability at all stages of the game, especially in like when players tried to engage with her ult, she could answer back really effectively. So we want to make sure that that's toned down a little bit, and then we'll continue to watch her performance, how players learn to play around.
Isis might legit be the last remaining
Control
relevant
mages are definitely
mage, actually,
a little bit more interesting to balance than when we talk about some of the more traditional mages.
Maybe Zonkui, actually. Maybe Zonkui as well.
Numerize some of these
Kronos
options.
got really hit. Morgan got really hit by the boom.
And then JANUS. I want to give a special shout out to Clumsy Death out there. JANUS has gotten a buff.
It happened.
1 second decreased on the cooldown for Unstable Vortex.
Yep, so this is a partial revert of a change. It was at 8 seconds, and he was incredible at farming mid-harpies. He was incredible at rotating between objectives, and he could just really poke often. And so we nerfed it to 10 seconds, and we saw him fall off. He had already been struggling at all other levels of play as overall, and so when we took a character who
honestly
is really
the biggest buff to JANUS to ever come out was
teams,
releasing that chibi skin.
So
you can never tell what he's casting.
We know that we went a bit too
that was
far.
the biggest buff to
JANUS. We hope 9 seconds will be a good
pay to
point for
win
him
chibi skin.
Skilled JANUS players can really make use of him.
Again, control mage, kind of similar conversation to Isis there, where very small things to tweak. Big things to tweak here because Jormungandr, that's a big guy. We're changing some, well...
Yeah, this is a lot, and it's probably just better for me to explain.
Yeah, you know what? Jormungandr, your turn.
So the patch notes overall have changes of like decreased magical power scaling and decreased like bonus damage. The thing here is when he consuming Bellows, he takes the gas clouds around him and that augments his damage. It was calculating incorrectly and not reducing the amount it was providing per cloud in regards to magical power scaling. So we've made a lot of numbers adjustments here.
So he was doing more or less damage than he was supposed to?
He was doing more than intended.
Okay.
And so, or he was doing less than intended. So now we have fixed it so that he will be getting the proper scaling. The math is being done correctly, but we've decreased numbers in his kit so that they are supposed to be as close to the same as possible. Our goal with this change is not to impact his balance. Our goal is to fix the bug and then do the math needed to make it so he performs exactly the same. So you'll see numbers changes. They're a bit confusing, but that's the goal.
6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
So did he just say all that to say nothing's going to change? That was a lot of complicated wording to say that nothing's going to change.
And then the last god change here is going to be
just start with that.
He has come out, but he has come out a little bit too short.
A little bit.
And so his base health is going to get a little bit more brolic, 400 to 450. We talked about the importance of base health and what that means. Just being able to walk up into the lane a little bit more effectively. And then, of course, a change to focus light. This is the base damage increase. It started at 100 and went up to 260. Now we're talking 100
they didn't.
to
Does that mean they didn't? Ooh,
so that
here we go.
game damage from the giant orb is going to be winding up a little bit more devastating.
That's not the problem with Oleron.
Yes.
His problem is not late
hunter
game.
through and through. He has the mage tag.
He's trying to not lose the game before you get there.
Hunter role as a whole. And so when we looked at his base stats, we looked at his base health, and he really was still in the mage class, which for a character that we designed so heavily to really fill that hunter role actually felt awkward. And so we've increased his base health to match the hunter class. And so he's actually on the top end of mage class now. Okay. But this is really just to move him more in that hunter direction. And then
no Nike changes, no Thor changes.
One of those abilities that it kind of rounds out your damage.
Make sure you ban Nike every game, and probably
other characters
Thor
have their standard core clear ability.
Yeah, ranked isn't. So far, none of these changes will change ranked at all.
We're just making sure Oleron's
well, that's a lie. The Chronos change matters.
Harder hitting. When you rank it up.
Chronos might get played less between his item nerfs.
Then when it crits, you're like, what? So
that's the only change I can see so far to rank.
The last change is going to be Zeus. He's been removed from the game. I'm just kidding, but it's Aggro's turn now, and I wanted to see his face.
Can't just say that, man.
Yeah, that was not that many changes.
There are lots of us that really like Zeus. What was that about? Tom's not allowed on the show ever again.
Wasn't
making
that many
the executive
changes.
decision. That's not going to work for me. All right, it's time to get into some of the skins that we previewed a little bit earlier on. To do that, we've got Tina, we've got AJ, and we've got Chris joining us here. Everyone looking nice and dapper, though AJ certainly cannot get away from the Amaterasu shirt no matter what.
I was surprised at how well my suit paired with the shirt, but you know.
You really think so, huh?
Is that what we're saying?
Look good, so.
Were we saying it pairs really
Pure
well?
luck, as always, I'm sure.
Okay.
All right, we'll start it off with Star Tyrant Ares. This one, I hadn't seen the card art for before. I'm here for this one, guys. This is super sweet. He's got a lot of different, he's got a more modern feeling skin. He's got the tier 5, of course, the more, mythological. Sci-fi Ares is something I can get down with, you know?
We're trying to really make sure our sci-fi skins make a big impact on the game. And we're trying not to overdo them, make sure that there's no gods that have conflicting themes, but this was something that we felt was really absent from
I just want to
Ares'
see it in game.
Skin
That's
repertoire.
all I want to see, baby.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome. In fact, we've got a little preview of the voice pack here. Let's
Does
take a
anybody
listen.
know if
My
hi-rez is...
arms will consume this universe without end like a great black hole. I will conquer your entire solar system, from Pluto to Uranus.
Why?
Yeah.
My hate burns hotter than 1,000 suns.
So Tina, that was not you, is what you were pleading to AJ.
Why are we choosing the jokes for this show? That's my question. I've said it so many times that the jokes. This is not the best case to highlight jokes. People like jokes, though. They're the hardest thing for the designers to write, so I appreciate them.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
But let's look at some effects and some ability animations here.
Yeah, Chris, Ares,
I don't
we
love
definitely
his
talked about it.
voice.
Wow, that is sweet.
I don't love his voice.
We talked about
I
it when it came
really
to
like
tier
the
5.
sound
Ares
effect
is
on
like,
the one,
just kind of doing his thing. It doesn't seem like a god that you can make that many flashy
I like
things
all the
happen
sound
with.
effects, actually.
But somehow you guys managed to make it look great every time.
Yeah, the artists that did this, I mean, they did a great job with the
three
our
looks really
pattern
cool.
hexagons that we always have. They're really nice. And I was going to say, if the sword doesn't glow, I'm going to be very disappointed. But it
two
does.
looks sweet.
Oh, it does.
It's got a very nice.
In fact, that could be his
and
best looking
it's
too, actually,
glowing
in the game.
and looks sharp all at the same time. You know,
I
let's
really
take a look
like
at
the
ultimate.
heavy
We haven't
chain
seen
sound of his
no
what?
escape quite yet. That is cool. That is super cool. I love the. I don't know, something about those like hexagon like flashing.
That's cool sound effects.
Gets
I won't play it
Audio,
over the
too,
tier
sounds
5
really
skin
good.
for
The
Ares.
sound effects there. But
Yep.
Very, very
If you don't have the
powerful
tier
sound.
5 skin for Ares, this would be a pretty good compensation skin.
That is awesome.
Which is probably what
Super
this is,
cool.
actually.
Absolutely love that one. All right, we got to move on to Pillow Fight Nike. Next up, I
She's
do believe.
cute.
This is one that like I never would have thought of it. By the way, love these
God.
like the plushy skins around.
Luckily,
in
this
the
skin
card
doesn't
art.
matter
Look
because you're
awesome.
still never going
I
to
never
see
would have thought
Nike
of,
in
like,
any of
Pillow
your
Fight
ranked
Nike,
games
but I'm
because
like,
she
that's
didn't
gonna
get
be a good
nerfed.
skin as
So,
soon as I saw
don't
it,
worry
you know?
about it.
Oh, it's so good.
She has a good balance now of skins. She's got a darker one and then more angelic one, and now she's got just something fun.
Yeah, super fun here. Let's take a listen to the voice pack.
This slumber party is going to be the best as yet. I'll be the next pillow fighting champion. I'm so good at sleeping, I can do it with my eyes closed.
That is good. I wasn't sure if there was another one.
My dragon will num you for lunch.
That is awesome. It's definitely. Oh yes. I was hoping that the sound effect right away was the first thing I thought of.
She's so cute.
Look at the dragon's face when she swings it back. Yeah. It's like it's holding on for dear life while she's swinging it around.
To slow-mo it, see it's like, ah!
I can imagine that dragon just internally screaming for its entire existence.
That is awesome. Man, you can't. Are you really like putting a pillow on a stick? That seems like kind of cheating.
It's a hobby horse.
Okay.
Its hands
It's
move.
a hobby dragon.
They wiggle when she's swinging it.
Oh yeah, her wings. Yeah, they are.
No, the arms on the dinosaur.
The arms on the dragon.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he has quite like ragdoll physics on his arms and like just waving around.
So cute.
Look at that. Look. I'll do that again. The side strafe
The
while you're doing the
side
two.
Catch me doing this all the time.
So
Another thing you
good.
might notice here is while she's channeling her two, it's playing a sound, which was something with the rework of Nike was lost. It was a bug. That's being fixed for Nike and all Nike skins. So there was some big Nike fans out there, especially with the 4th of July Nike that were
Look at his face!
had lost her patriotic music.
Normally,
that
I
will be
like
returned
skins
to
like
you
this.
Okay.
with this update.
There's something
So it's
about this
also
skin
used
that
in the
makes me
skins
just
used in
a
all of her
little
skins.
bit
So
uncomfortable.
Good to know for sure.
I don't know.
God,
That
it's
is-
cute.
I don't know.
That is super cool. Oh, I love the glowing scales that she gets in her ultimate. It looks like those are a little bit brighter whenever
Also
she
worked
has.
with a voice actress this time that I've never worked with before, and she was so sweet and so fun to work with. Her name's
And let's be real, you can't use the skin because you have to use
Oh, please, Tina.
America Nike.
Shout out
Yeah.
to Sophia.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
The only real Nike
I'll
skin.
tweet the full name.
There you go.
We're constantly looking for new talented voice actors. You know,
Yeah.
keep expanding the overall roster of Smite. I think it's great whenever we can find new people to work with who turn out to do great work.
Man,
The
that
squeaks
little-
are too good.
Yeah.
The squeaks are
squeakies.
great. The face on the 3. This one is going to be fun to go up against.
And now that she's running the duo lane a little bit more, you could run this with the
Artemis.
Artemis skin.
Yeah.
Oh, you can.
So you can just have
the
a
full
super
pillow party.
cuddly duo lane. And you can
won't
maybe
be that
battle
cuddly.
against the duo lane we'll be talking about later today.
Yeah, that is fair. All right, let's go to Infinite Ruler Olorun. Olorun's first skin since joining up, besides, of course, recolors and masteries and all that. And it's one that I'm always a sucker for the cosmic.
I don't know,
theme,
man. I
can't
don't know
help
if
it.
I can take any
It
more
just looks
Oloruns
cool.
on my
What do you want
team.
from me, you know?
So
Let's take a
help
listen to the
me
voice
if
pack here for
people
Infinite
start
Ruler
picking
Olorun.
more Oloran ADC on my team because he's got a new skin.
chaos to balance the order, but always light to fend off the infinite void.
Oh man.
Knock knock. Who is there? Me. And I have no time for jokes. Stop. Your efforts are pathetic.
Wow.
All right, that joke was kind of good. I'll give it up.
It's an anti-joke.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of those.
So you have more of an infinite
Yeah.
theme
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
But
It looks a little bit-
Olorun as a character has a lot of cosmic themes, so we're
Right.
kind of
At least the auto attacks look really cool.
of those skin themes.
that's cool.
Because oftentimes when we're skinning a god, we'll try to use the god's core theme in ways as well.
That
that
looks
is so cool.
different.
Yeah, the effects team went really all out on this one, Chris.
It's really crazy. Yeah, these infinite skins, they always tend to have really cool effects,
Alright.
but I think this one just tops them all. This is really sick.
That is so cool. Just like, we don't have very
The
many
two could actually look really
weird
cool with
shaped
the thing.
things like
Whoa.
that, you know?
Okay, it actually
Everything's
kinda
nice and
looks the same.
smooth and round and or
Yeah.
nice and
Is he
square.
missing a stomach?
That's part of the infinity-ness of him.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Missing a little bit of his,
He doesn't have to eat.
Exactly.
some of his
That's a
limbs
sad
and some of
existence.
his, yeah.
I know, that is a sad thing.
Maybe he
just
can
eat
just
for fun.
eat all he wants of whatever he wants in the whole universe with
That
no
is
downsides.
a great existence,
Yeah.
for sure. Definitely
As
a top 3 genie wish for what it's worth.
Right.
Being able to eat whatever you want without any negative
As an
repercussions.
infinite cosmic creator, he's probably capable of that.
Yeah,
God.
I would assume as much.
I think. Oh my gosh.
Someone must have known to show that one specifically.
Absolutely. Oh,
That's
that
a-
is really cool.
It's
It's a
tech.
good
I love the
woohoo.
triangle pattern.
I
they
admit,
use in
it's
all
a
these
good
kind of- and then
woohoo. He
especially
already
when you
had
get
a
the
good
kind of shattering
woohoo, and that's
feel
still a
with it.
good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, your reality being
So
shattered.
this is a reward skin for your completion of the 3rd chapter of the
Oh, cool.
Battle for Olympus event.
It's a cool
Correct.
skin.
And those skins we just showed ahead of time, right? The Nike and
They
Air,
are part
those
of the
are the
Battle for
last
Olympus.
two.
Correct.
So with this
cool
skin, we wrap up the Battle for Olympus, but of course we have to show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, AJ.
This is just the third reward. This is not the final reward.
What is the final reward, you may ask? Well, it's Winds of Change Cuckoo Khan, the tier 5 skin. We've been talking about quite a bit, and I have not seen anything for this, and I am super stoked to take a look at it in game. Of course, I imagine that we do have one of those voice pack videos ready for it, and let's take a listen.
A new world is born every moment, but not even the most powerful god can know the destiny.
The best voice yet, actually,
of
of all the voice packs.
Soon you will see the beauty of nothingness.
It's another good voice pack.
I have a feeling there will be a good bit of unnatural selection occurring on this battlefield.
Finally, some good voices on a
Wow! That is so sick.
Pretty raw line.
Holy cow! What's that? Go back. I want to see that again. Wow, that guy is thick.
Above and beyond on this.
Holy cow, that really gets in the way of your vision. That is going to impede your stuff, but it's cool.
All the way from modeling, concept art, tech art, rigging. Had a ton of work to do on this skin to make it. We keep trying to top ourselves with these tier 5s, and a whole lot of effort went into this, and I really just want to thank our entire team.
Okay, so if you haven't heard anything about this skin beforehand, there are
really
3 different forms.
Already, man.
We have Celestial, Void, and Life. I'm guessing this is the Celestial.
Yes. Right. You will start in Celestial form, and it's kind of a mini story of the universe in a skin.
Okay.
At the beginning, there is creation and light. And in between, you have life and survival and struggle and evolution. And then eventually, you just have the empty, absent void of space.
Right, because nothing we do matters. It's all going to go into the void eventually anyway.
In the end, we are just a speck on top of a tiny speck floating in the middle of an empty, infinite nothingness.
To become that's sad.
Thank you.
But when you get to the life,
that's
you gotta live, you know? And that's why that's part of this skin as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so does it change like a lot of other tier 5s as you level?
This one actually changes every time you fire the ultimate. Oh. And you also have the ability to use the special emote VXG to change.
So you just changed.
Holy. That was so smooth. I didn't even see when it happened, to be honest. I guess I was looking at the big dragon.
It's a change at the beginning of the ultimate fire, and what it'll do, it'll change to the next form, and the ultimate effects will look like the next form. Okay. And it always rotates through life or celestial to life to void.
Wow.
So when you fire the ultimate on the life, you'll switch to the void. You'll see a void dragon ultimate.
Man, that is cool. So this is an all new basic attack animation for him for this skin, it looks like.
Whoa. Look at the character. He's a totally different shape.
Yeah.
Every single one is completely.
This is truly a tier 5. He's got arms and legs and multiple arms, and he's got multiple arms here. He's got tails. He's got a very upright posture, a little bit different than base Kukulkan. He had a lot of rigging work and animation work. And then, of course, the effects team always went all out. All 3 forms, completely unique set of animations and effects.
Yeah.
3 completely new voice pack per form.
That is so cool, dude.
And when you hit the Odin with the
void one and the celestial
they
one
get these other little cool effects. So you get very different take. You get these extra beams instead of the whirlwinds.
Oh, yeah. It's always a nice part about tier 5s is that you can just kind of take it a little bit over the top, maybe in a new direction, you know. But this looks, I mean, this skin turned out great.
I like how the dragon that comes out is the one of the form you're turning into.
With
almost
the VXG.
like it's
I believe that is not working in this current build, but it will be
in
the future, so you'll be able to change as you please among those 3. Man, you really... Every time I'm like, there is no way a tier 5 can be better than this. There's no way.
Just like a good tier 5.
Ares 360 dunking with his ult, nothing could be cooler than that. And then it's a Kukulkan that changes 3 times.
I love the colors on the life form, just of the scales and the feathers, but then the effects as well. They're amazing. I love the skin.
Man, again, that is your reward for completing the Battle for Olympus. All 3 chapters, you get reward skins for completing each chapter individually as well. Plenty of things in there, so make sure you get it while you can so you can get your hands on Winds of Change Kukulkan. We know you guys are hanging around for Persephone, but we've also got some other things to go over first. So we're going to throw it back to Tom and Isaiah on the desk just after this.
But aggro, I want to hear that. Oh, never mind. This looks cool too, actually. What's this? Oh no! It's a mobile game! I got baited! No! I said a mobile game looked cool, folks. That's it. That's the end of my career. Damn. I didn't think I'd go out like this, but you all have phones, don't
Smite
you?
Blitz, baby. It's on mobile. I saw the words chalk, and that's what I'm going to be here to talk about. I'm F. Dot, and I'm joined here by community specialist, sensationalist, Isaiah.
Sensationalist.
You're wearing the 11s, man.
Not
That's
a real
right,
gamer, folks.
I had to do it to him.
So we're going to talk to you a little bit about some mobile games. Pre-registration, pre-orders are available for Smite Blitz. And as I said, chalk. You can get them early by doing just that.
That's right. Yeah, Smite Blitz available right now for pre-registration on iOS and Android. The more people that pre-register, the more rewards that you can get when the game launches. So I believe chalk is going to be that final reward. And you'll also be able to
I've
get
heard
some
that the
in-game
game is
currency for
actually fun.
if enough people pre-register. So be sure, open up the App Store or the iOS.
Everybody that I've actually heard, I haven't played it yet, but everybody that I've heard have played it has said the game is actually fun.
I was actually just getting my chalk.
Oh, okay, cool.
I was just getting my game on right now. I guess I'll have to wait till later. But so that's going to be fun on the mobile game, of course. But on the PC, we've got some stuff coming out for you guys as well. Skin deals.
That's right. Who doesn't love deals, right?
Deals, man.
So we've got a new deal section headed to the in-game store coming out in this update, and it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. So we're actually looking at past exclusive skins that have been in chests or events. We noticed that, it's a feels bad type moment when, especially for new players, when you open up the game, you see this awesome new skin and you see this exclusive tag and you don't know when it's coming back. So this new deal section will be along with the daily deals, but is it a separate thing? It will have 3 different exclusive skins that will rotate and be available for direct purchase. And the plan is to have that store deal section rotate around every Friday. That way, past exclusive skins will be available for direct purchase.
That works out for me. Come home after the SPL games. SPL airs every Thursday and Friday, obviously, at 11 a.m. And so with that in mind, you go home and get some skins on the Friday deal.
Exactly.
Gotta love it. Gotta be having it. And of
We'll
course,
send
I mean,
biddies
I'm
for
here, so we're
Incon
gonna have a
gameplay,
party,
Smite
Any
gameplay
excuse
greater
for
than
me.
FDOT.
Community celebration is what's going on. I just see the word
Silly
celebration
goose,
and stop
please,
reading, so I'm
Fred,
going to you explain what's going on.
Yeah, so
this is
we
important.
Were thinking about,
we're hearing about how to spend our money on exclusive skins
or at Noah's
from the past.
For the
that we
amazing
can buy now.
concept for Spirit Guide Audio, which is coming your way this update. And we were just looking for ways to just celebrate the community. We really appreciate you guys. We wouldn't be here without you. So in years past, the community skin every year has been available for direct purchase, but we're kind of brainstorming this event. And we wanted to, step it up a notch. So in this new community celebration event, everyone will be able to earn Spirit Guide Audio absolutely for free.
If it's for free, it's for me. That's generally my rule of thumb.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
no, this is really big, man. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, but I'm here, but I started just making YouTube videos in the community, man. And so seeing this is the ultimate shout out to you guys. You guys give us an idea. We just kind of give it back to you.
Exactly.
I've never really seen
so
that.
So the RDO skin? I guess you can get the RDO skin for free.
An event that we haven't done
some
before.
sort of community event.
The way it's going to work is the more games that the community collectively plays, there's going to be a progress bar. So the more games that are played by the community, the more rewards in this event that will activate and are able to be earned. So
we'll send all the biddies for you to do patch notes instead. Hashtag making.
Really?
More rewards you unlock.
Wow.
And then the final reward is Spirit Guide Audio.
That's some old school stuff. We had some things like that way back when, and I remember playing.
They skipped all the details in the middle part.
The server has to get
Seems
together
very,
one big deal.
Very suspicious.
Now you get your homies to play.
What a convenient time for your service to lag there, hi-rez.
Right. And
yeah, all you got to do is
absolutely amazing skin, and I believe we've got the card art ready. We're gonna
and then you get the skin just like that.
Yeah, this is gonna be that Spirit Guide Audio one. Again, shout outs to the inspiration from some of the artists in our very own community, which. Frankly, shout out to all of them.
Fred.
The artists in our community are dope, and they give us stuff like this on the regular. Obviously, not just a skin. We got the voice pack as well. Bring us a track.
Humans aren't too friendly to supernaturals. Maybe we should have stayed in the spirit realm.
Very Japanese.
I don't have a spirit animal because I am a spirit animal.
Oh!
There you go. There's the fox.
I like the dog.
The human version is a little...
Big fan. Big
you
fan.
have
I
no
like the
idea what I can unleash here.
I like the scepter too. That's really cool looking.
Is a little
Here she
weird.
Is in game. She's gonna go mess up some Odin.
A little
toss
boring.
The basic attacks. And obviously, this is where we talk a lot about the effects and everything. But for real, what I like about the skins here is always the core concept.
The animal
right?
stance is pretty dang cool. The non-animal stance is pretty.
That's really that's
pretty
bland.
Definitely, right?
But the color motif is a big deal on all of these. There's the cripple field and some of the stuff, and it's all cohesive.
Right. Yeah. So definitely shout outs again to Fiona.
That's cool though.
This concept was inspired very much by Japanese culture.
Like that's
so
a really
the
cool
hints
skin.
Of pink, the cherry blossoms.
The other half of it
concept was actually called Kitsune Ardeo,
right?
And that's where you kind of get this
a little bit more boring.
Looking pretty dope. And again, you know, this is Ardeo is normally a bear. You change
somewhere
to a
Elon
dog.
Musk is like,
I'm never going to complain. Fox.
I smell.
But the canine family is open, and we're a big fan of this. Again, shout out to the details. Some of those markings on the back are really sick, and the ins and outs here are really nice.
Yes, it looks absolutely amazing. So be sure we'll have more details on when this event starts. Keep an eye on social media.
As far as a free skin for Ardeo, it's a pretty rad free skin.
As Isaiah mentioned, this is kind of like a think of like a community-wide battle pass. If
that's
you will.
a pretty rad free
skin
for Ardeo.
We'll unlock more. Gizmo Bologna
also,
is one of these.
If they're really going to show us all the games being
really
played, that means we get to see how many games of Smite are being played a day.
Absolutely amazing. When I heard the pitch,
would be
they were like,
interesting
we're going to make Bologna
I'm just saying.
Future space mechanic. And I was like, huh?
Finally
but
see
wait
if
till you guys
I
see
am
it
the only person that actually
Yeah, there's a
plays
lot
this.
of attitude here. Let's hear what she sounds like as well, because she
it's
just
one
looks
one
pretty,
game of
pretty damn
Smite.
Cool.
I guarantee a fast service, no matter how long it takes.
Is that
so there's that mechanic.
Borderlands?
She's gonna fix your car.
Bologna skin?
Listen, it's not rocket science. Wait, actually, Bella, it is. Rocket science.
All right. So are we getting Smite
I
card
wouldn't
too?
step any closer, buddy. I'm in the
I don't
mood
think
to
she.
throw
I
a
don't know
wrench.
if anyone can fix the Smite carts the way we want it to. But definitely Gizmo Bologna can definitely give it a shot.
That's a cool
These effects
sword.
turned out absolutely amazing.
I'm digging the
My
sword.
favorite thing about Bologna skins is
I'm
watching
digging
her
all
kind of
these.
switch weapons, and these turned out awesome.
Yeah, I love to see the inspiration of where the items are going to go. So she's got the wrench on one, there she got the sword board. That's kind of like obviously like a megaton hammer. It's kind of doing the thing, and that. All right, that's cool. That's absolutely what I would expect some like future chain to be.
I like it.
I like the retract. Watch.
I like it.
Stop basic attack. It retracts back into itself. That's really sick.
Ulti's actually
turned
kind
out
of
really great, and you heard it
a
in the
little
voice pack. But
schmab,
along
but-
with these animations, the team was really going for a spunky mechanic type vibe.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this really shows in the skin.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
yep,
what it is
absolutely.
even
She's
more.
got some attitude.
It's a little bit Final
I have
Fantasy-esque,
probably,
actually.
met her before.
Yeah,
She definitely
I can
seems like
see
the
that
type of girl
actually.
that would ruin my
a
life.
little bit more than Borderlands.
Here she is just doing
Well,
her
what,
thing.
what was
And,
that girl's name
fantastic
for Final
stuff
Fantasy?
with
Like,
Gizmo Bologna. That's just
Riku?
one of them. We got
Riku?
more.
What
Scotty
was her
is going to
name?
come up next.
It kind of
This
looks like
is
her.
fun because this fits in
Cindy?
with the
Cindy.
Loki theme.
Exactly.
Is that the Loki skin?
We're going with the Day of the Dead vibes and Calavera Scotty. I believe that's how you pronounce it.
It is. You're right.
Yeah.
Calavera. And we've got, again,
This
the
is,
dog. This is actually the only reason they invited me.
Right. This
Multiple
for Scotty?
dog skins. And so, as we said, Calavera Scotty coming through. Let's take a listen to what she's got to say.
The Day of the Dead is upon us once again. My family has put
This is
out
a very different
so
skin.
many ofrendas for Caldo and me.
I love the accent. I love
hate the winter. The cold goes right through me.
this dog is insane. Can't wait to see it again.
Mess with the spirits, and they will mess with you.
I
like it. It's very different. I like different.
I absolutely believe that.
This skin looks so great. I was talking with AJ.
This
a couple
is
days
cool,
ago,
actually.
And we were really
Different color
brainstorming. We've seen
scheme.
Day of the Dead concepts pop up on social media all the time.
Right.
And we've tried to do it, but we determined, just adding a little bit of pop of color just really elevates the concept, and it really shows in the skin. It looks amazing.
Yeah, it does.
That
Again,
is
I'm
a
talking
cool
about
looking
that cohesive
calder, man.
color scheme here. You've got this Calavera, and it's very.
That
like
is
you
an
said, Day of the
aesthetic
Dead,
calder.
and it's supposed to be kind
Look
of
at those textures.
death infused, but
I like
in
this
the,
a lot.
Like, purple blue spiritual side, not the like death and decay type. Like everything is black and death.
Right. It's very much a celebration, right?
Yeah. It's the celebration. That's what we're doing. I mean, it's a community celebration all overall. I love though, and this is unrelated. We recently changed it
this is
where
a fun
Scotty
skin.
can
This is a fun
eat
skin.
Calder out there at a target. He's got wings
Call
on
Deer
this.
got wings for extra
And the effects team actually went.
Yeah, he does. He can throw Call Deer extra far with this skin.
Yesterday.
He can fly
really
there.
cool, like, almost blacklighty effects on the ultimate.
The natural progression of his
everything
buff.
there. Yeah, it definitely looks like everything would react to a black light. It fits the whole theme. Very, very cool here. Again, shout out to our Loki players out there because it's going to be in that skin family.
Why did he
Coming
just,
up next, we've got
why
another
would you
kind
ever
of spooky,
shout out
scary
Loki
skeleton.
players?
It's going to be
Oh, I
Spooky
forgot
Nightmares Cupid,
these
and
were
you can see
coming.
Spooky Dreams Kumbhakarna there on the same card. We'll take a look at what Cupid is doing first. He's spooky, but he's tiny. Let's hear what he's got to say.
You are in the presence of the gruesome twosome.
I'm sorry. I was not Isaiah, I was not
How did the monster get caught? He trips it over the mess on your floor.
I have no idea what he
expected a more
said.
normal Cupid voice.
I
That's
literally have no
I'm
idea.
gonna bite your face. No? Just a little.
Okay, I need him to stop humping. That makes me a little bit
and
uncomfortable.
He is ferocious.
And thankfully, obviously, a lot of new stuff. The old stuff, though, gotta keep the dance. You can't change the Cupid dance.
That's right.
That little that little shuffle he's got going on.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
What are
Oh my
these
god,
hearts?
when did
Okay.
Smeagol?
When
Yeah.
did Smeagol from lore get to voice
bags
Smite?
It is, dude. It is
Yeah.
Smeagol.
Little magic monster.
It
bag.
is.
Okay.
It's not.
I like that.
But yeah, we
It's
absolutely
actually-
love
The
It is.
Man Dream.
Straight up.
Yeah.
We're putting
This
two
is
and
the
two
closest
together.
we'll ever get to a Lord of the
Speaking
Rings
of putting
skin,
two
ladies and gentlemen.
together, we absolutely love
Lord knows the
biohacker
Tolkien
and
estate will
Polly
not
skin
let
that came
that
out. We
happen.
kinda
This is
coupled them
it. This is
together.
as close as we
The art
get.
team really wanted
This
to
and
do
the Who
this.
Ye
So we
skin.
kinda
That's
went with this, like,
definitely not Lurks.
spooky vibe here, and as Cupid says, he and Kumbhakarna are definitely the gruesome twosome.
Right there. Some more fun stuff on the ultimate. There's a VXG.
Oh my god.
Oh, he goes to sleep. I can't wait to BM players with this. I'm gonna,
Right?
I'm
That is
just gonna
pretty
kill you
BM.
and then go to sleep.
It's like 1v1.
That is pretty BM. If you kill
They sleep.
somebody and then
It's
go to
nap time.
sleep,
They
that is
sleep.
like next
Just
level
out.
BM.
Love that you can move with
Oof.
this Cupid.
Oof.
Pretty cool. Kumba, of course, the second part.
I can already hear the typing going
Not
on, man.
quite, D Generation X, but certainly just as scary. Let's see what Kumba, well, what he looks like on the card. What does he sound like with those glasses?
Jeez, the space under people's beds are so messy nowadays. I can hardly fit under there.
The big boy.
Ready? Okay. What do you do when 10 monsters are at your front door? Hope it's Halloween! 10 monsters at the door!
So he is very much the counterpart to Cupid. He is a lot more lighthearted, and I absolutely love the textures on the skin. It's very cartoony, very pastel.
Yeah, I was talking about this off air when we were talking about the Nike skin. The texture looks soft. I don't know how to, like, it looks like it's pajamas, and that's something, you know, when we look at how far our animation department and our artists have come,
actually just
it's
legit
those finer
laughed for
details.
so
and I think I
long
see that
off
here on
of
the
that.
Kumba as
My
well.
God.
Kind of just
Oh,
this-
and
this
Twitch
soft
Bro.
look
Thank
to it
you.
makes it
Thank you for
like a
whatever that
monster
was.
or a
No,
toy
no,
or
no.
something like
Thank you,
fun.
Mixer. I
am
appreciate
going to focus
it. I
on the weapon.
appreciate it,
I
dude.
absolutely love this. This is some old school nature.
I didn't even
druid-y,
click on
like,
anything.
It looks like something.
Mixer's
you know,
like, open
I
up
would
another
see on
tab.
like a druid, but again, it's got this like fun. You compare this to the Scotty
I didn't
Ranger
even touch
skin,
my mouse,
and
man.
there's clearly like a childlike component to it.
Right, definitely.
Another VXG for the big boy, and he too.
Oh, they're both
will
sleep.
sleep.
Both him and Cupid. That duo
It's a less
lane
cute
is
sleep,
lazy.
though. It's
I
less
love
cute.
that. Just kind of chilling out
Right.
there. Shout outs to that. It's actually what it looks like when me and Taco go hang out. She's the Cupid and I'm the Kumba.
That skin was actually a
Fun
little bit
stuff there.
oh,
That
God,
of
what's
course
it
is
called?
just some
Where
changes
the
to our
stra-
characters
the
already in the
Stranger
game.
Things
The biggest thing
go?
I
What
want
was
to
that
mention is
called?
it's the community
The little kids
celebration.
book?
The more games you
That
play,
they turned
the more
into the-
access to these
the
skins we'll
like
be able to
the-
get out
the
there. So
Disney
tell all your
show.
friends. Shout out to Take Max
Where the
Sunday.
wild
Coming up
things
next,
are.
some
Yeah, that's what
new
that's. Yeah.
additions. We've
Yeah.
got Persephone.
That's
and
what
she's
that
gonna be showing
reminds
out.
me
That's why
of.
we're all dressed to the
100%.
nines.
Exactly.
I'll toss it over to Agro and the crew to talk about the new goddess.
Every season has its ending. The leaves fall from the trees. Once more, I descend to my husband's kingdom. The gods claim it is a place of shadows and sadness. But what do the gods know of death? What do they know of me? They never wondered why I ate the pomegranate seed. But I had my reasons.
One of the most requested gods or goddesses we've had over the many years of working here. I know I hear about Persephone all the time, and I'm so excited to finally get a chance to show it off to you guys.
I can't believe it's taken this long to get her, actually.
By AJ and Chris, but now we got Pon Pon joining us here.
I always thought she would have been out forever.
We're all dressed up because that's what Persephone wanted. And I get the feeling that Persephone gets what she wants an awful lot. You know?
You can say that, I guess. I don't know.
She seems like a commanding presence.
Yeah, she
interesting personality.
Is that what it is?
How would you describe it?
I don't know. I say her personality is definitely the she knows what she wants, and when she has her mind set to it, she can go right after it.
So the lore video there teases a little bit about her, some of her background, but for those who aren't quite as inundated in that part of the realm, Pon, why don't you kind of give us a quick breakdown?
Yeah, so her overall lore is that she is the daughter of Zeus and Demeter, and they had a lot of time just telling her what she was going to do. Demeter was like, you're going to help me with my mysteries, and Zeus felt it was appropriate for him to give Persephone away without talking to her at all.
No.
And so she went to the underworld. Hades took her to the underworld, and
classic Zeus.
The seasons ended up causing to be existed because Demeter was sad. She controlled the seasons. The world started dying, and Zeus was like, no, you have to bring her back. And so Hades offered her a choice of a pomegranate seed. And Persephone understood what that meant, that if she ate the pomegranate seed, she'd be choosing to stay with Hades rather than returning to the overworld for essentially forever. And so she took destiny into her own hands, ate the pomegranate seed, and they actually had probably the most successful relationship in Greek pantheon.
They do.
Hades ended up taking on aspects of her, becoming a more Harvest character, especially when she was in the underworld.
Like a
and when she's in the underworld, she is
everything.
the queen of the underworld. She actually is able to. She has dominion over mortal souls. She's the one that kind of guides them through the underworld. She has her own domain in the underworld, and they ended up taking on aspects of each other. And now they're kind of working together to their own ends.
Okay, so Persephone. I mean, Hades has been kind of a mainstay in the Smite story for a while now. He's a big part of Ragnarok and all that when it happens in game. Now Oleron has kind of risen to be the light side. Is Persephone kind of his anti-hero on the other side?
We're going to be exploring Persephone and Hades.
I see
their
a little
backstory
skeleton
and their
model
complexities
that I'm in the
as
way
gods,
of.
and their motivations a lot more in the upcoming Smite storyline and our future events, specifically the Odyssey.
Okay.
So little spoilers, as the Odyssey will be focusing on Persephone a lot.
Okay.
And we're already finishing up the first chapter of that story, and it is really awesome. And you get a really in-depth view about the complexities that go on with those characters that appear evil because they're
I don't know what you guys are
gods
talking
and
about.
goddesses of death.
I was just
but they
moving
have
out of the way
very
of the
different
skeleton.
motivations than the gods of Olympus. And the key distinction there is that Persephone doesn't like how controlling and selfish those gods of Olympus are. They are ultimately self-serving, even though they appear benevolent. Persephone wants humanity to have more freedom. As someone who ruler of mortal souls in the underworld, she is the one who she experiences human death every day.
Sure.
And it's impacted her heavily, and her and Hades understand this, and they see that all of the plight that humanity goes through. So Persephone is going to be trying to shake up the Olympian gods and prevent them from being so rigid. And she's going to do this through some interesting ways, and it's going to be a good bit of our upcoming story. It's going to be a long narrative, I guess I'd say.
Okay, fair enough. I'm excited to see some of that, but I'm also excited to see Persephone in game. We've been doing this a little bit more recently, where we get a chance to have whoever's back there, I believe it's Clumsy today, kind of give us the quick run through of the kit. Show
All
us
I know
what
is
she's
her
capable
ulti
of,
has
and we'll go down
apparently
and break
2
it
new
down
forms
step
of
by step.
CC
So
on it.
Clumsy, have
And
at it,
her
have some fun.
Passive gives her GP5 or something.
The underworld
There's a lot happening
That's
on my
a lot.
screen.
There's a lot happening on my screen right now.
There's a lot going on, and if you don't know exactly what's happening, it might be hard to follow, but we'll dive right into that.
Yeah, that's what the breakdown is for. But let's kind of stay zoomed out a little bit here for Pon Pon for a second. what is the overall idea? How are you? What is Persephone designed to do? How is she gonna really make her kit work?
So we wanted to highlight this combination of life and death, and create a kind of necromancer-like character that isn't just about bringing up skeletons and spooky,
she has a cool auto attack.
Like bone creatures.
Her auto attack is like
we wanted
from
her
the floor.
to actually feel like what is her life-giving power and her nature powers. What if they are fused with underworld powers? And so her kit revolves around this interplay between life and death, and her ability to create these constructs of plant and skeleton.
That could be the best auto
using
attack
souls in the underworld that are willing to help her. And her whole gameplay revolves around creating this kind of field of plants that she calls her garden, cool. And then using all her abilities to either plant more things or grow them rapidly for a lot of damage, a lot of just immediate flourishing of life.
Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing is that we got a big passive icon here.
Yes.
The pomegranate. And it looks like it's filling up with seeds. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Correct. So her passive is pomegranate seeds. And this is whenever she has a plant, so you see a plant was placed there, auto-attacked it to activate it. That's how you activate those plants in one way. And when those are activated, you get a seed that flies to you. You can store up to 100 of them, and you might notice that the first one's really big and the 3 other ones are kind of small. Mm-hmm. It's because that first one is really important. Once you get 25 seeds, when you would die, you instead use those seeds to keep yourself alive for 8 seconds. So you'll actually stay fighting for 8 seconds, unable to be killed, unable to be stopped, unable to be CC'd. You do 50% reduced damage, but if someone kills you and you want to try and get the finishing blow, you have a garden that you haven't been able to activate, you get to do all that stuff for 8 seconds, assuming you have actually farmed the seeds to do so.
So you got to be tending to your garden properly.
Yep, and you can see the six there is showing how many ammo she has of her 2, which is her main ability to plant plants.
That's
and then the other pomegranates that are on the side, she can accumulate up to 100. So 25 lets her recover and come back to life.
Okay.
Any excess that she generates over the course of playing, when she backs to the base, she actually gets to sell them for gold. So if you're doing this really well, you actually get a little bit of gold generation as well.
Wow. Okay, so 25 is the baseline that you basically need to be hitting if you want to use the kit to its full extent. If you're able to stay out a little bit longer, keep your seed generation going, how much are you? I mean, how much are we selling each of these seeds for?
3 per seed.
Okay, and you can get up to how many? 100?
100. So 75 will get sold because it always keeps 25, so you can use your revive passive.
Cool.
But
that's
it will
a
sell
strong
any
passive, y'all. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Don't
that
like
is
having downtime.
A very strong passive.
This might be the goddess for you. You're gonna be busy on this, guys.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot to do. This passive, I'm really happy with how it's designed because the after death type of mechanic is something that's been requested in the community for a really long time in Smite. It's something we've always wanted to explore. But we don't like an idea of an ability that does nothing until you die.
Right.
Because if you're playing well, then you get nothing out of it. You're playing a 4 ability god instead of 5.
Yeah.
Which is not fun. So this whole farming mechanic ties in really well to give Persephone a clear design goal and give her structured rewards at different levels of how well you execute it. So if you're not making enough seeds at all, you go back to base with below 25. It doesn't sell any, right? Sure. You have to have excess, right, Pon?
Correct.
So if you just have 20, nothing's happening. When you get to 25, you can trigger the Ajax death passive, and then if you continue farming, you get that really good feeling like when you're playing a different type of game that has mechanics like this, and you go cash in all of your crops at the end of the day, or in a mobile game in other ways, and then you just get the gold cha-ching, 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 cha-ching feeling.
Okay.
Which is what we're trying to give with Persephone
she just
here.
got 3 gold right there. Excellent. Okay, let's look at ability 1 then, because that passive has a lot of components to it, but I think it'll probably feel very natural when you're using it.
Okay.
Her ability 1 is called Bone Rush. So what do we got here, Pon?
So this is her bringing in the underworld to directly assist her. She actually will call forward a skeletal warrior of the underworld. And this warrior will charge forward without abandon to target anyone in front of Persephone, and charges forward with such force that you're just kind of seeing like the cartoon where the skeleton hits a wall and it kind of explodes as pile of bones, the bones go flying.
Right.
That's what it does. And so it'll damage anyone past the area it runs, and it'll stop on the first target hit. So you can see there it stopped immediately, and then the pile of bones are flying past, and that damaged anyone behind the target.
That's good for my RP bones, dude.
The plant that she places with her too starts out as a skull, and the skeletal warrior has a skull. And so when it hits and all the bones go flying, the head actually goes flying to the end of it and also creates a plant. So not only can you create plants with your 2, you can also use your 1 to start placing especially really far out and aggressive plants.
Okay. So this is kind of your longer range planting.
Yes,
you know,
correct.
And to her core ranged poke or.
In case you need a
I guess
longer
not necessarily her
range
main wave clear
C.
because her plants can do that too, but we'll get more into detail on that on ability 2.
It's pretty fast.
If Ajax gets to say it, I get to say it.
There's travel time for the skeleton, but it looks like the explosion afterwards is pretty quick and pretty long.
I believe that explosion is instant.
Yes, it is.
It is.
But the travel time is there and the deploy time is there. And notice that Persephone, we spared no expense on her visual representation.
It's a very, very
full-on
long
character we're using for this ability.
Yes,
it's long.
A whole new friend.
I doubt it. It doesn't
and you
look
can see
like a travel
wherever she
streak,
summons
though.
it,
Looks like
that's
probably
where it
just,
starts
like,
summoning from. So
when
you
it
have to take
hits
a
it,
little
like,
bit
it
of
hits,
different
like,
consideration from other abilities where if you're side
It'll be
strafing
really
and
good at
cast it, it'll
poking,
cast
though.
from where you were
That'll
when you
be
cast
really
it, not
good.
where you currently are.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
poke
Gives
some
this
gods
ability a
behind
really
waves.
nice feel in game. Although it might look like a simple line attack, it has a very unique feel to it than other abilities in the game. And that ability kind of start it warming up and then let it charge forward allows you to do some really interesting plays where you're moving quickly and you aim at something, but you can continue on your way. You don't have to keep your camera locked on your target the whole time, which is nice.
I like that a lot. All right, number 2, her second ability, Harvest. We've seen
Give Incon
the
new broken god add to
I'm
Arsenal.
guessing that's not all it does.
It does a lot of things. So Harvest is the main way that you place your plants out.
Explosion,
You
heal,
have 6
slow,
charges in a given
bite.
time, and
There's
you
like
can have
20
10
things
plants
on
out
there.
maximum. And when you first place it, it's a skull on the ground, and you activate it with basic attacks. You activate all your plants with basic attacks. So you throw out the plant, you auto attack it, and a skull goes flying to you, and that'll actually heal you. So if you just need quick sustain, you can drop a plant in front of you and use it to sustain yourself. If you place it and let it sit there for 4 seconds, a sprout will erupt through the skull, showing that it's now in a different state. And in this situation, when you attack it, it'll explode into like a kind of like spore cloud, and any enemy that's caught in it will take damage and be slowed. So this is kind of the middle stage where you've placed a plant, you've waited a little bit, and now you can auto attack it to get an explosion to occur in that area. If you wait 24 seconds, so a significant amount of time investment, you can see that one over there has actually gotten some legs, is now able to move around, and when it's attacked, it'll become alive and chase down any nearby god or minion, prioritizing gods first, and run at them and then bite them.
And make a really creepy sound.
What in the world just happened?
Yeah,
That's scary.
This ability has a lot of moving parts. Sometimes you want the exploding plant, sometimes you just want some sustain, sometimes you want to amass a giant garden of chasing plants and run them at opponents. They are only live for 3 seconds when they are chasing, so players can run away from them to avoid them. There is a delay on when they bite, so you can try and juke the bite as well, so there are counterplay options to it. But when you have an army of these plants running at you, it's a pretty spooky experience.
Run away, yeah. Okay, so you can juke it if you give it a little wiggle right at the end, it looked like.
Specifically, once it starts firing, it's locked on to an area.
Gotcha.
And you can path yourself out of that area.
So can enemies kill these plants or skulls?
Nope. So one thing that we wanted to make sure of Persephone was she was creating her garden, and she had agency to play around it as best as she could. And so we wanted to give counterplay to gods when they're activated and where they can stand, rather than giving counterplay in regards to them being able to maybe kill the plants. So these plants are out there, and there is no way to kill them or destroy them. This is Persephone's garden. You are not going to mess with it.
Pon, I hope you take this as the compliment it's intended as.
Interesting.
I love and hate all of your gods because they make me think too hard. I've got too much going on in my brain,
This is
man.
a
I've got
very
brain power to farm
interesting
and
kit
keep my,
so far.
Keep my plants where I want them on the right stages.
It doesn't seem broken yet.
You can do this.
It definitely seems intricate.
I'm going to try.
We did design it in a way that
sometimes intricate just
there
means
was
hard.
growing levels of complexity, but that it wasn't necessarily mandatory.
Yeah. Her skill floor should be relatively
very
straightforward.
different.
As we go through the rest of the kit, you'll see that there's
interesting
combinations
so far,
that you
which
can do
is
to make this to get a good amount of execution out of it. But if you are a top level player and you want to maximize this to its full potential, there is a high skill ceiling there.
And can we just talk a minute about the art going on here during this ability? Chris, what was the thought process for Persephone's effect scheme, and then how did you handle it on this ability?
Yeah, so it started off as like a really magical look.
This is cool
but
so
kind
far.
of as we went through development, we
I'm really
decided that we
digging her
also
kit
wanted to
so
throw in a
far,
lot more
man.
elements, like
It's
natural
also
elements to it.
aesthetic,
So
too,
it was kind of
man.
hard to keep a
It's
balance
really
of like
aesthetic.
magical and physical kind of thing. So I noticed if you throw out her in hands, you'll notice that they're like vines that kind of creep through the ground instead of just being like a straight magical protection or projectile.
God,
Same with
that
these
is
plants,
creepy.
you know, we still want. We want it to look like a kind of like a spore explosion. You know, if you blow them up, you'll notice like a flower and a skull pops out, which is all very magical, but there's still like physical elements tying it all together. So it's kind of difficult, but I think it turned out pretty nicely. It fits her character pretty well.
It looks great, and I think the idea to put these on the ground traveling basic attacks because they're popping the seeds up out of the ground works. Super
and
well.
just Persephone is
her
we
skins
knew
are gonna
far in
be
advance
wild.
with Persephone,
That's a good
we
point.
wanted her to have supporting characters as a kind of necromancer or multi
skins are gonna be
management character. We knew we were gonna have other supporting characters, so that's where we have the skeletal charging minion as well as the creepy flower
because it hits the whole
creature.
wave.
That is featured prominently in her card art, which looks awesome. And then all of its intermediate forms. So a lot of additional artwork went into this goddess.
Yeah,
and
big shout out to the team.
Right.
The entire art pipeline, modeling, concept, rigging, tech art, animation. When you have a character that has this many supplemental models, it is definitely a big task. And I mean, just look how cool all these plants are.
And I love her little like hop. She's like having a good time, you know? She's like playing something. Yeah. She looks like, you know, a little like Snow White, like plants in here, plants in there, but it's actually like necromancer
we know her ulti
plants coming out.
You've exactly nailed it there, Aggro. And if you've read my blog post, you'll see the kind of duality in these themes. She is a regal, powerful supervillain, but she's also young and anti-establishment and a little bit of, honestly, like a hippie feel to her.
Okay.
And that is very intentional in both her voice acting, her overall theme, and her participation in the Smite storyline, and her animation. And we're going to see that especially featured here in her next ability.
That is Flourish, her third ability. This is the movement that we saw a little bit earlier on. You mentioned this in your blog post, and this might be one of those the more cinematic moves, it feels like, just based on the look alone.
So Flourish is a two-way leap, which is kind of new that we're doing. It's either if you're going forward, you'll leap forwards a set distance, or if you're going backwards, you'll leap backwards a set distance. And it's a leap ability that does something where you take off, not where you land. So she actually kind of explodes life-giving energy underneath her, and that propels her forward or backwards. And that life-giving energy, if there are plants around, not only do they immediately activate, so this is your way of triggering a whole bunch of plants very quickly, they also upgrade. So if you have a few of your kind of sprouted plants out, and you do the flourish on them, so you can see there, some of them are skulls, some of them are
going all in.
Yep. You saw 2 explosions and 4 biting plants. So if there's a big garden, if you've made a big garden, here's your way to quickly activate it and get the most out of it.
Okay, so you don't need to even wait for that 24 seconds or anything like that. You just have to use a movement ability, which is a high investment, but it seems like a big payoff.
Yeah, this is a nice way for you, especially if you're in a situation where you didn't necessarily get the kind of maximum garden that you want to pre-plan somewhere. You have abilities to actually get some immediate benefit.
That's good.
And not only that, when she uses her flourish ability, she actually pre-germinates her next goal. So when you place it, it's immediately in its tier 2 stage. So you can do things like backwards leap because the jungler came to gank you, throw out your plant, which is now an exploding plant that slows, and immediately basic attack it.
Holy, that's so cool.
You ever pre-germinated your seed before, folks?
Kit.
Yes.
This ability also has some other interesting features along with it. It allows Persephone to leap through walls, over walls with this ability.
Oh,
when
that's good.
Similar abilities in the game do not.
That's
we
huge.
redesigned Persephone's to allow that. But as you see with that little targeting reticle out front, you need to make sure you have the fully cleared distance, or you won't make it over a wall.
Okay.
And she can also leap through walls backwards,
that is
which
really
has never
cool.
been done before.
Oh man, I'm gonna like blink in, plant something, then whoop, just right out.
But if you make the mistake, you will just face plant into the wall you're standing right next to, and then get immediately murdered by a pile of gods.
Be careful, that has happened. As you just saw there, he thought he was going to be able to get over that wall, and he didn't quite get there. So you gotta be careful.
Back jumping over walls it can be a risky play, so be careful with it.
That
also,
is so
sometimes when we
cool.
spam things on cooldown, we might
cool,
get some
though.
interesting plays here. But you see here a very light, floaty animation treatment.
I like it,
dude.
dude.
With those themes that we were talking about before.
I do.
The detonation area being at the origin point as opposed to the destination point, that was mostly designed to discourage people from jumping into a pile of plants and enemies.
Right.
However powerful that could have been, that would have been extremely high risk, high reward type of gameplay, mostly just resulting in Persephone getting killed.
Yep.
Not what we wanted.
No.
And I want to make a note of effects here too. Is a lot of her abilities have kind of like this deep red and darkness to it, and that area that she's creating is actually pretty lively and like full of life. And so you get a lot more of her nature aspects there. I don't know if you want to talk about more about how we decided to do that kind of style for her.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of the pitch for her, you know,
yeah, it'll target the Gold Fairy, man. 6 seeds on the Gold Fairy will do a lot of damage.
We didn't want to have like a hell situation where it was like 2 different gods essentially. So Pawn kind of designed all of the abilities to have like either like a life element or like an undeath element to them, and then like some combine the two.
10 seeds on her too.
I don't know if you want
maybe
to
10 seeds.
That's what we were going for. No,
we've only ever seen 6
lots
out,
of times when you talk about life and
right
death as a theme, people think about it alternatingly. Yeah.
Right.
Life or death.
You could probably
you don't
rewind
really show
the
both
stream.
at once, and we were nah.
You can look at the VOD.
Give me some
We
of that.
want something
Probably look
more
at the second
unique and
ability.
something more interesting. We're gonna do life and death. So we tried to really design all of her abilities and all of her feel around combining life and death into a single visual theme at a single time, not alternating back and forth, not half and half, but life that brings death or death springing from life all at once. It was not an easy theme to, and the kind of the point of the whole blog post, there's a lot of in-between themes. She's this but that, this but not this but that, but somewhere in between, these alternate combinations. It's a difficult theme to work with, and she was really challenged for the design team and the art team, but we're really, really happy with what we're seeing so far.
All right, so let's move on to the ultimate. We got a chance to see it in a little preview, and it looks sweet.
500 damage,
of death.
plus 5
Your
damage,
blog
plus
post
attack
mentioned
speed
this was
reduction.
2 new types of CC.
Yep, that is true.
What do we got here, fellas?
So when this is going to be a ability where she throws it out and she conjures essentially life in her hands, a ball of vines, and throws it forward. And this ball of vines will actually entrap and encase. And entrap is the new CC. And encase the person that it hits inside this cage of vines. And you can see if you walk forward, it actually has like a health bar for pips where it can break if it's attacked.
Okay.
But that person inside is rooted, they're crippled, and they have their attack speed slowed. So the only way for them to get out of this ability is either beating to remove the effect, or actually like auto-attacking their way out of this thing. Not only that, the vines are not done once they've hit their target. They seek enemies. They are not content with just the person they've trapped. And so vines will actually reach out to grab the person that's around. And when they're grabbed, they can no longer move further away. So you can see that Chalk's trying to run away, but he's tethered to that person. And if he moves closer, it'll actually reel him in. Like if he ever moves closer, he cannot move much further around that. So 2 new types of CC, entrapped and bind.
I'm gonna really like setting my jungler up for double Thor dunks and huge hump ults and that kind of stuff.
We played a T5 Cuckoo game, and this was pretty good with a tornado and ult.
Yeah, that seems not bad.
It's one of the longest duration CCs in the game, but that's designed because it has counterplay in mind. And even the bind, the allies, it's all designed to encourage your allies to break you out.
Yeah,
because when you break the person out, you also break yourself out.
Oh, wow.
And not only that,
hold on.
The vines don't care if they're hitting a god. That's fine if they hit a wall. It creates the deployable there instead of the god.
Man, that's very
so cool.
lenient.
Yeah, we're doing this gold fury. Stay over there, chumps. That is so sweet.
And if they walk in afterwards, it's not just on initial cast. If they walk in afterwards, the vines will reach out to them. If they leave, the vines will retract if it didn't quite get them. So it has a very lifelike quality to it. If you see the Chalk walks in here, and now it reaches out and grabs him.
Oh, wait, no, I've messed up.
It might actually be meta.
Okay, so if you get hit by the ultimate and you use beads
in certain situations,
you were able to walk out of the cage.
Okay, does the person who is tethered
in
to
the middle,
they're still in there.
They have to beads as well.
They have to wait, or they have to beads. They have to wait the duration, or they have to break the entrapping vines.
Because, but if you're trapped, you can auto attack this. This thing on the wall here.
Zoning
you can see Chalk's hitting it, trying to break it. Didn't quite break it fast enough. Got the full effect
new world of zoning.
And as you mentioned, whoever's trapped in there has their attack speed slowed.
You can just whiff it
for that person.
Just whiff it and be like,
they can still cast abilities, so they can push people away. They can fight back. But they are crippled right inside of it, so they can't leap out of it. And so you definitely need some people to help you break out of this more quickly. And so if a whole team gets trapped, everyone better turn to kill that thing because it's in everyone's best interest.
Can we get this ultimate fired from an enemy Persephone's perspective, please?
Oh, yeah.
Production team, because this projectile looks insane.
Yeah,
and
it seems
you
scary.
only get to see part of that awesomeness from Persephone's perspective. It's really the other enemy.
That is such a good ability,
towards
man.
you, that's when you really start to feel the terror that we wanted you to feel in this ability.
Yeah.
Spooky.
The sound alone is
not to mention she can fight when dead. Let's not forget from the start.
We're playing with
she
the
can
concepts
die
of
and still
grasping
fight for
vines.
8
This is a sort of
seconds.
common horror
It's a
and
long time.
plant mage type of theme. So this felt
what up,
really natural to
Persephone?
her, and we wanted to make sure this was really scary.
Holy, that is horrifying. Whoa, you guys did not warn me about that giant skull coming at me.
Yeah.
What
yeah,
is
that's
that?
that's what we're talking about.
They
It
were
looks
like-
amazing.
They're like, yeah, you know, we can just make
Oh,
the
that
cage
is
into a projectile.
terrifying.
She throws a cage.
Oh my
I said, But
goodness.
what makes it scary is just like a giant skull in front of the projectile. And you know, I don't know.
Oh,
Wow,
also
that goes-
a thing that's highlighted there is it has global range.
Has no max range.
It will go.
What?
It'll go until it hits a wall. So you can see that one. I think is gonna hit like the Phoenix wall.
That was a perfect shot. Oh my god.
What in the world?
Yeah, I mean it has an effect when it hits wall, so it's okay if it keeps going until it hits a wall.
No, it's not okay.
It doesn't go through walls.
It doesn't go through walls.
Walking into base and just get clotheslined.
Now
by
You
she's
can see a
not
giant
okay.
scary skull with like these
Now
tendrils
she's
coming at
broken.
you.
That would kind of be a waste of the ability, though.
Now
Unless
she's
they
broken.
managed to
For
get
the
Or the
sheer
most-
psychological damage I'm
I guess
inflicting.
No,
not.
that's a top front page Reddit.
Whoa, audio is way louder. That was well done, production team.
We just
though. That was
jump
awesome.
scared some people.
Wow.
Me? I'm gonna love doing that. I'm gonna try.
And notice
This
how
is where I'm gonna
the cage has those skull elements built into it as well.
Oh,
Life and
my
death all
God.
seen together at once in glorious, evil, clever harmony.
The whole art team just killed it.
That's
Going up
incredible.
particular
The
with
art
3
team
like
practically
deployables.
just
That's a lot
killed
of work
me.
for them to do.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
awesome.
It really did.
This god is just specifically more work than a usual god. Like,
Yeah, because you're trying to give like scar people
my
for life.
God. That
with this
camera
ultimate.
change was
she's
not
not that
needed.
scary. She's got good motivations. Come on.
Yeah.
She's scarier
I
than
guess
she
You're a
is.
human. She'd be cool to you.
Wow,
Man,
that
was
ulti,
sweet.
dude.
All right, let's take a
actually
listen. We got the
gnarly.
voice pack, of course, we have to listen to for Persephone.
Great,
Let's take
another
a listen.
global I can't buy.
Oh, jeez.
Be thankful. From your corpse, I will create something beautiful.
Oh, she's like stepping on.
The only use for you is to nourish the soil.
Oh God, yeah.
Attack! Defend!
Wow. Oh, those
I
animations are
appreciate
great.
Hades. He doesn't take me for pomegranate.
Ah,
Nice.
I'm
the
gonna
puns.
joke.
I'll give you one chance to surrender. Take it or leave it.
Classic. What about her
Not
recall?
bad. We are going to show you guys the death passive in just a minute,
Wow.
but they got to get it working basically so you can get a chance to see how it works.
Yeah, you can't be so for production. You can't be in God mode, and you have to actually do hit me with more than your health amount because you have to die normally. If you just do the command to normally kill your character, it won't work.
All right, so there it is. You get picked up by the skeleton,
Wow.
and so she does less damage in this mode.
50% damage.
But
Can
she-
do everything else.
If you can use all your abilities,
including your
including
ulti?
your ult.
including your ult.
Okay, and you are did you say you're CC immune?
You can't be interacted with.
She's untargetable.
Yeah, so you can't take damage. You can't be CC'd. You
She
can't
doesn't
be
body
hit.
block either. She can't.
Yep.
So she can't just be like an infinite hunter wall of blocking volume or anything like that.
Okay.
She can't just body block you inside tower range, right?
Correct.
Anyone can pass through her.
That is too cool, man.
It's also important to worth noting. We're working on it right now, but when she goes live, she will, in theory, have a material swap on her that makes her more ghostly and glow, so it's more apparent that she is in her resurrected state and not just.
Yep, there are a few small features that are coming in that
This
you'll see over
character-
the course of PTS and before live. Are live. That's one of
This
them.
is a strong one.
Okay,
we
we
just
gotta
had
take- we gotta take a look at
Oleron.
these
Oleron
recolor.
was a weak
this
one.
recolor, I should
Oh, yeah.
say, of course.
They're not making that
Recolor,
mistake again.
little
We're
bit
getting a
more
strong one,
red.
folks.
No, that's the base.
Oh, that's the base. I'm
No
sorry.
more, no more
That's
weak
not the
god
right card
release.
art.
I was like,
That's
the base card art.
I was like, guys,
Which is dope.
This is
fantastic.
this is she gets
the recolor
nerfed in
card
her
art is
first
really
patch.
cool though, and it gives
Not
you
a
a
she
little
gets
bit
buffed
more.
in her first patch. God.
There you
Yeah,
go.
the more
wow.
interesting emotion that she shows
her being
in this
blonde
kind of.
makes
She's not just a straight up
her creepier?
bland supervillain. She has a lot more interesting motives, and that's why you get this really clever grin here along with her power.
How'd you guys know my favorite color was green? Really appreciate it. I like this one. I'm going to be using this one quite a bit.
We figured people who preferred a plant goddess would like green, so.
Yeah, fair enough.
This
That is
almost
really
shows
cool.
more of her springtime outfit versus her fall-winter outfit.
Okay, yeah, you're seeing both ends of the wardrobe there.
You're a
That-
caster. You got to dress up. You understand some basic fashion principles of fall colors and
boy.
spring
Very
colors.
basic.
Yeah, exactly.
I just ask Tom most of the time, to be honest.
Me
with
too,
you.
but yeah.
That's the way we do it.
We have a
around here.
professional art team that understands those very well.
Yes.
And this recolor turned out awesome.
It really did. That is sweet. You get to both ends of the spectrum. Persephone looks great. Of course, PTS will be up shortly.
Yes.
We hope that, so to stay tuned to all of our social medias and that kind of stuff. Smite Pro on Twitter is
We
the
do
place
want to
or
call
Smite Game,
attention
rather.
to that her mastery skins will not be launching in her update.
Okay.
They will be launched next update.
Well, if PTS is up
we'll
for
probably
tomorrow,
still get bug
folks,
reports
we
for
will
those being
definitely
missing.
take
But that is intentional that those are
take a
missing on
gander
PTS.
at her.
Those
Make
are
sure
not
everybody
being
has their
completed, still being
PTS
finished up.
updated so we
This
can
goddess has
play
so much going
tomorrow
on
at some
that
point.
We want to take the extra time, make sure those look
So
good.
we can go check
Yeah,
her
I don't
out.
think delaying the goddess for the mastery skins is the right call. You know,
We did the
Probably
same
not
thing with
right
Horse
play.
and Set. We shipped their masteries afterwards, and that's okay. And we used to do that a lot anyway.
Yeah, that's how it used to
Gives
be.
people another bump of progression, because some people play the god like crazy, but it's nice to, you play the god like crazy when it comes out, and then the next update, you get the mastery skins come out, and you go, ooh, okay, maybe I'll play a little more, and we like that too, because we like just keeping people to try the god multiple times.
Wow. Yeah, I like that sort of flow as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining us and showing off Persephone. She looks absolutely phenomenal. Again, at Smite Game on Twitter, so you can get all the updates on when PTS is going live and all that kind of stuff.
She's going to be a little
Thanks
strong,
so much for
ladies
watching
and
our
gentlemen.
update show where all of us dressed up and had a lot of fun. Make sure you stay tuned, though. Just 5 more minutes. We've got Esports Weekly coming up, so stay tuned.
All right, I'm okay. I don't need to stay tuned. So the big takeaways from the patch, ladies and gentlemen, is the meta is going to basically stay the same. The biggest changes was movement speed in general, but that mostly hurts, you know, gods like Kronos, who is going to maybe slowly get out of the meta now. He probably saw the biggest nerfs of the patch. Morrigan got pretty hurt by the Boombas change. Isis might be like the last remaining really viable mage in the game, because the fail not nerf was not enough to stop any of the hunter stuff, and the physical, there really wasn't any like hunter nerfs. In fact, some of them like CHIRON got really big buffs. So basically I expect the same meta, just minus maybe a little bit of Kronos, and some of the other magical ADCs, you know, are also, you know, going to get hurt from this as well. So a lot of hunters, a lot of thick boys, a lot of physical damage, just the way that it's been. And Persephone looks to be about as strong as Oleron was weak upon his release. So hopefully